Hi guys, this is Paige from Paperbacks and Lattes, and today I will be talking about the books that I read in March. Hi guys, welcome back to another monthly wrap-up. This is March's wrap-up of 2020, and this is all the books that I've read this month. I felt like I didn't have as good of a reading month in March because things have been crazy with having my son home from school with the coronavirus and quarantine and all that kind of things. But looking back, it's not a bad month. I just, for some reason, felt like it was not as good as I normally do, but overall, it was still really good. So, let me get into what I read. I read 18 full-length novels, 1 novella, 5 short stories, 2 rereads, and I DNF'd 1 book. So, let's get into what those books are. I go in order from the first book that I read from March, the beginning of March, all the way to the end, so I just go in order. The first book I read was Fire in His Kiss by Ruby Dixon. This is the number 2 book in her Fire Blood Dragon series. This is shapeshifter dragon books, and I have been thoroughly enjoying her series. I've started her Ice Planet Barbarian series, and then I've kind of gotten into her other series that she's been writing. And essentially, these Fire Dragon series, each book is centered around a certain couple, and it just shows how the woman is taken by the dragon shifter. This is like apocalypse time where the dragons have come through the rift to Earth, and they have wreaked havoc on the Earth because they are just have lost their minds because they came through the rift. They don't know what caused it. It's not their fault. It's not humans' fault. It's just something happened where they came to Earth and it essentially made them lose their minds. So they wreak havoc on Earth. A lot of humans have died, and they're just trying to fight for survival in these times. And each book shows a dragon who finds a mate, and once they're mated, his mind clears up, and you start to uncover the history behind these, where they came from and all that. So the first book I read was Fire in His Kiss. The second book I read was Fire in His Embrace. And the third book I read was Fire in His Fury. So I read 2, 3, and 4 of the Fire Blood Dragon series, and each one centers around a different couple. Then I had a reread. I reread Birthday Girl by Penelope Douglas. I always enjoy reading this book. I was just thinking about it a lot, and it was on my mind, so I said, well, hey, why not? I'll give it a reread. I always enjoy rereading some of my favorite books. And this is about a girl named Jordan. She has just been kicked out of her apartment due to her boyfriend because he held a huge birthday bash for her that she never actually went to. And it got loud. There was a lot of ruckus. There was a lot of damage to the apartment, and so they lost their apartment. Now they have nowhere to go. So they move in with his dad, her boyfriend's dad, who she actually met on her birthday night when she didn't, because her boyfriend was at the party. He was supposed to come pick her up from work, but he didn't, so she watched a movie at the theater, and there she met his dad, but she didn't know it was his dad until they went to go pick him up from jail. So that's essentially how the book starts, and they move in with him, and there is an attraction between Jordan and her boyfriend's dad, Pike, but they never act on it until she and her boyfriend have broke up. it's very angsty, very slow burn, and it is really good. Even though it is an age gap and it kind of sounds cringy with her boyfriend's dad, but it's really good. It's, trust me, if you haven't read Birthday Girl, you should totally read it. The next book I read is A Leo Loves Aries. It is #1 in the Signs of Love series. It is by Anita Sunday. This was a great book. It's seen it highly recommended from several booktubers, and so I finally decided to pick it up and give it a try, and I'm really glad I did. It is about Theo and his sister. They have both been recently been dumped by their boyfriend and girlfriend because they actually fell in love with each other, and so they actually get invited to their wedding, which is kind of okay. I certainly wouldn't go to my ex's wedding, but anyway, they're invited to their wedding, and so they try to find each other a date, and then they get a new roommate. He forms a great friendship. Theo forms a great friendship with their new roommate, but he is thinking that he would be a good date for his sister, although feelings that he might not have known were coming up for him. So this is kind of him exploring and finding out that he might have feelings for his new roommate. So it is a very good book, very funny. Theo is just really clueless about everything. But anyway, Leo Loves Aries is a really good book, and I cannot wait to pick up the second book in the series. The next book I read was Written in the Scars by Adriana Locke. This was a hard-hitting book. This is about a girl and a guy. I can't remember the names off the top of my head. They are married, and they have just been having trouble in their marriage, and so he actually leaves one night when she says just leave. She doesn't really actually mean it. She's just saying it because she's angry, but he actually does leave her, and she doesn't know where he is for several weeks. And then all of a sudden he comes back, and she's very angry that he left her, and then she didn't hear from him. They're still much in love with each other, but they have a lot of hurt and angst. They've been through a lot of hardship, and this is just about them trying to rekindle their marriage. And then towards the end of the book, some dramatic things happen, a tragedy that actually made me cry. My husband looked over, we were sitting on the couch, and he said, "Are you seriously crying?" I'm like, yes. There was a really sad part towards the end of the book, but it was so good. I really love this book, and I rated it 5 stars. Next book I read is a novella in the Ice Planet Barbarian series. It is Barbarian's Valentine by Ruby Dixon. I am slowly now getting the Ice Planet Barbarian series finished, trying to get all her books finished in that series. This book was great. It's just a little short story of revolving around some of the couples in the Ice Planet Barbarian village, where they are trying to just rekindle and add a little bit of spark to their relationships. Some of the human girls introduce their barbarian aliens to the holiday Valentine's Day and give them some sexy time surprises. So this was just a cute short story in between the full-length novels. Excuse any background noise. Both of my kids are home and they're just bored, and excuse any children noises that you may hear during this video. The next 5 books I read are short stories. I picked these up because I was just about to start the historical romance readathon the next day, and I had already finished up my book, and I was wanting to read something. I said, well, I'm not going to start a full-length novel right before my readathon starts. So I watched Bree from At 11 Words, her video on short books on Kindle Unlimited, and so I picked up a few of these from her video. So these are just really sexy short stories that I just read all in that one day. So they're very quick reads, and I rated them 3 stars. It's hard to rate such a short book because they're very instant lovey, which is not particularly my cup of tea, but they're good for the amount of pages they are, because like the first one was only like 13 pages. So I mean, there's only so much you can pack in that short of amount of pages. So anyway, they're good for what they are. They're not 5-star worthy reads, but they were something just to fill the time in the void before starting my readathon. The first one is Taken by Hope Ford. This is about a guy who meets this girl. She is locked out of her house one night and it is raining, and the reason she got locked out of her house is because she heard something outside when she stupidly went outside to go check and she didn't have her phone or her keys and she got locked out. So she was running down her neighborhood trying to find somebody at home to let her use a phone to call her landlord, and then she meets him and he just is instantly taken with her and he starts protecting her, and it's just a cute little story between them. And the second one is One Night by Hope Ford, and this is about a girl and a guy. He had been burned by his ex-wife, and so he pretty much wrote off having anything to do with women. But there is this girl that her mom owns the diner that he comes to every Wednesday, so she has been infatuated with him for a long time, and so she asked him for just one night. Just let me have one night with you so I can just get you out of my system and whatnot. And they have the one night, but obviously it leads to more. The third one is called Wanting More by Hope Ford. I don't really recall, and I just read the synopsis again, but I am just blanking on the story. I can't hardly even recall the story. I guess it really wasn't that important, or I would have remembered it. For some reason, my mind has just completely blocked that story. Then the next one I read is Married to My Dad's Best Friend by Penny Wilder. This was my least favorite read of the month. It is also another short story. It's about a girl that she falls in love with her dad's best friend. She's been in love with him ever since she was a teenager, and then she graduates college and she begins work at his law firm. He's an attorney, and so she is wanting to be an attorney, so she begins working for him at his business, and things just develop from there. Just a very okay read for a short story. Then the last short story I read is Brave by Hope Ford. This is about a guy who was in the army and he has PTSD and just a lot of issues, and him meeting a girl, and it's about their story. The next book I read is Lauren's Barbarian. This is #1 in the Ice Home series. This is the spin-off series of the Ice Planet Barbarian series by Ruby Dixon. I started this series because I just wanted to delve into her other series that is very relatable to the Ice Planet Barbarian series. I would not start this series, the Ice Home series, unless you read the Ice Planet Barbarian series, because you just wouldn't understand a lot of it unless you read the original series. This is about Lauren. She is a part of the group of human girls that came at the very end of the Ice Planet Barbarian series when they're destroying the ship so that way none of the other bad aliens can track the ship where they're at. They destroy the ship, but in the process of destroying the ship, she's stranded at sea, and so she lands on an island, and she is discovered by another type of alien, which is very similar to the ones that they have known on the Ice Planet series, but this is a secluded little island. It resonates to Cathar, and he actually is very similar, except he has 4 arms. So each of the tribes on that island has a particular asset, such as he's part of the strong arm tribe. Then there's the tall horn tribe and the something cat tribe. So there's different tribes on this island, and this shows her falling in love with him as their fated mates, turning back to the ice planet because the island is actually a volcano and it is erupting, so they have to try to escape and make it back to the ice planet to survive. I rated it 5 stars. I thoroughly enjoyed it, and I can't wait to read more in the Ice Home series. And then the next 3 books I read is in the historical romance readathon. I made a separate vlog about the readathon, so go watch that video to watch more in-depth reviews of the books. but I'll just give a brief overview of those books right now. The first one is Dreaming of You by Lisa KLEYPAS. I gave it 4 stars, a very low 4 stars, almost like a 3.5, but almost 4. The next one is Hearts Aflame by Johanna Lindsey. I gave it 5 stars. And the next one is In Bed with a Highlander by Maya Banks, and I also gave it 5 stars. Go watch my historical romance readathon vlog to see what these books are about. The next book I read is Resurrection by Siobhan Davis. I don't know how to say her first name. I know that I totally butchered her first name, and I'm so sorry. I'm terrible with pronouncing names, so forgive me for that. This is number 1 book in her series, The Sainthood Boys of Lowell High, and it was actually pretty good. I rated it 4 stars. It is a bully romance. It is about a girl. At the very beginning of the book, she's dealing with the grief from her dad dying, and something terrible happened to her in her past, and her dad has been protecting her from these gangs. These gangs are just all around where they live. Her boyfriend that she dumps pretty much at the beginning of the book, he's part of a gang, and then so she immediately goes and gives herself to these four boys who's in another gang, the Sainthood gang. She gets wrapped up into their world, although she has been previously wrapped up in their world in her past tragedies. So it's all a kind of mystery type of plot, and you're trying to figure out what went down and what happened, and the end leaves off on a shocking plot twist, and I cannot wait for the next book. It has just made me crave the next book. I cannot wait for it to come out to see what happens next. I signed up for the free trial of Scribd, and so I got access to more books that are not on Kindle Unlimited, so that made me really happy. The first book I read on there is The Simple Wild by K.A. Tucker. I have been wanting to read this because everybody, it seems like, on the booktube community recommends this book. They say it's so good, and I completely agree. I rated it 5 stars. This is about a girl that she was born in Alaska when her parents were together, but her mom could not take being in Alaska because they were in such a remote part, because her dad is a bush plane pilot, and her mom just couldn't take that life, so she left, went back to Canada, and she's been raised in Canada all her life. She doesn't even remember her dad. Her dad has never really made time for her. She's never really made time for him, so it's just, she doesn't really know him, and she finds out that he is sick with cancer, and so she goes to Alaska to get to know him, and there she meets Jonah, who is one of the pilots in her dad's company, and they totally don't like each other because he is so rude to her at first, because he has just preconceived notions of her being a goody two-shoe city girl, and she is kind of, you see her views start to slowly change as she realizes that her life that she was living, that there's more to life than what she was just doing, and she really becomes involved in the Alaskan life and her dad's life, and it's just really neat to see her evolve as a character, and also her and Jonah's relationship, and to see how they work out their differences since she's in Canada and he's in Alaska, and how they come to resolve that to try to be together. The next book I read is One True Loves by Taylor Jenkins Reid. I loved this book. I rated it 5 stars, and I saved several quotes from the book on my phone because it was just, I don't even have the words. It was wonderful, and I loved it. This is about a girl that she married her high school sweetheart, and they have just been living their dream life. She has always wanted to travel. She's wanted to get out of the small town she grew up. She did not want anything to do with her parents' business. They own a bookshop. She did not want to do anything with that. Get out of the small town. She wanted to travel and see the world and explore and just do all these magnificent things, and she does it some with her sweetheart, and she does some of it by herself. and then it shows they get married. And on their 1-year anniversary, he goes to Alaska. And okay, so this, I'm actually editing my video right now, and I didn't realize that my camera had cut off. I had given a very detailed explanation of this book, One True Loves, and I'm just editing and realizing that it cut off pretty much all of my review. So I am filming this clip right quick to tell you more about the review. I left off where her husband left on a trip to Alaska, and the helicopter went down into the ocean. Something happened, and they found some of the bodies of the people that were on the plane, but they didn't find him, but they presumed him dead. So her life just ended as she knew it. Her husband, she was told her husband is dead, and she is just completely devastated. So she tries to pick up her life as best she can. She moves back to her hometown with her parents because she is just craving stability and what she knows, and she wants to settle down. So she moves in with her parents. She takes a job at her parents' bookshop, and she just tries to slowly build up her life again since her husband had died. Time has passed, and then she meets her high school friend Sam, and they start to date, and eventually they fall in love, and he asks her to marry him, and she says yes. So then they are planning to be married, and almost before their wedding, she gets a call saying that they found her husband on a remote island and he is coming back home. So now she has to decide, A, go back to her husband, or B, get married to her fiance. And it is a decision that she has to choose who she is still in love with, that maybe you can have more than one true love in life. That also, one thing I really loved about her in the book is that she didn't choose a guy just to be with a guy. She chose who to be with because of who she is, who she has evolved to be. You're never the same person that you are 10 years from now, from when she was 20 to when she's 30. It's just you are constantly changing as a person. And so you just see her choose who to be with because of who she is, instead of just trying to be with a guy just to be with a guy. So I really like that part. I love the book. I gave it 5 stars, and I highly recommend it. Okay, so sorry for the angle change, the video change. My camera actually died, so I am filming the rest of this on my phone. But I was talking about Hopeless, in that it is in the male's perspective. And so it's basically the same story. It's just told in his perspective. And a couple of times it got a little boring, and I was hoping that, you know, if this book could just finish. But it was still really good. It told the same story, which is an excellent story. And I just really enjoyed it, and I'm glad that I did read it and say that I have read it, because Colleen Hoover is an excellent author. Then I started the Harem of Heart series by C.M. Stunage. This is the reimagining, retelling of Alice in Wonderland, and it was fantastic. The first book is Allison's Adventures in Underland. This is showing where she falls down a rabbit hole, essentially, into Underland, not Wonderland, because things are happening that are, it used to be Wonderland, but things are happening to where it has changed to Underland because it's pretty much failing, and they need their destined queen from prophecies to come and help save their world. And she is the chosen Alice. Her name is actually Allison on Earth, but she is the chosen Alice who is going to be the queen to save them all. And so she is just discovering this whole unique world and everything. There's characters from Alice in Wonderland. There's a lot of just Alice in Wonderland themes. It is really good, but the prophecy declares that she will have 9 husbands. So of course this is a reverse harem story, and she is just making friendships with these guys who are helping her along the way. The next book is Allison and the Torrid Tea Party. This just continues on in the series. This shows where she went to the Mad Hatter's famous tea party and all the chaos that ensues from it, and how they're just being chased by the bad guys. And then the third book is Allison Shatters the Looking Glass. The bad guys have actually chased them back to Earth, which is what they call Topside, and she has to save her family and try to save all of Underland, which will also save Topside because they go coincide with each other. And this is just her trying to figure out how to defeat the bad guys and save Topside and Underland. So it's a very good story. It's a reverse harem story, and I just really enjoyed it, especially with the reimagining of Alice in Wonderland. Then, since I was reading reverse harem, I had to reread Groupie, which is also by C.M. Stunich. This is one of my favorite books, my favorite book by C.M. Stunich, and this is the Rock Hard Beautiful series. This is the first book in that series. I have read all 3 books before, but I just had to reread the first one because it got me to thinking about it, so I just had to reread it because I love the story so much. It's about a girl, Lilith, who she has already lost her mom and her sister, and she finally loses her dad. He dies to cancer, and her stepmom pretty much says, don't come back. I'm cremating him. There's no reason for you to come back. And so she had just broken up with her boyfriend because he was cheating on her. She lost her apartment. She gave up her job because she was going to go take care of her dad. And so she just has nothing. She has no family, nowhere to go, no home. And she accidentally wins this VIP pass to this rock concert. And so she goes in and she befriends these rock stars while she's just going through the worst time of her life. And they take her in, and she just forms a relationship with all 5 of them. And it's just a really good series, and I love the Rock Hard Beautiful series. Then I had one book that I DNF'd. It is the Fake Boyfriend's Breakaways. This is one of the books that I have had included in my March TBR. I thought it was about each couple from the Fake Boyfriend series. I love the Fake Boyfriend series so much. I rate each of them 5 stars, and I thought this was just a book continuing on with like little stories of continuing on in each couple's life. But it was not. I was sorely mistaken. This is about the exes of the couples of the books. Each book centers around a couple, and these are the exes of the couples and how they find love. But there is just so many short stories packed in there, and they're so full of instant love, and I just did not care to read it. For one thing, I had no emotional connection with these characters because they're the exes of the couples I read about, and then there are such short stories packed in this one book and full of instant love. I was not in the mood to read that. One day I might pick it up to read it. I don't know. I may never. I'm just not into that really, and so I just DNF'd it. I'm like, I don't care to read it, so I'm not going to waste my time reading something that I really don't care about. So my favorite book of the month that I read was One True Loves by Taylor Jenkins Reid, and my least favorite was Married to My Dad's Best Friend by Penny Wilder. So I had 5 books that I rated 3 stars, 2 books that I rated 4 stars, and 17 books that I rated 5 stars. So I had a really good reading month overall, and that is what I read for March. Let me know what you read for March, and if you've read any of these that I've read, and let me know what you think about them, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye!